Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is correct. Reporting out of closed session, just one item this evening. The motion is to receive the report and that confidential direction to staff be confirmed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Can I get someone to move that? Second. Moved by Councillor Humphrey, seconded by Councillor Kim. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, record a vote.
Recorded vote has been requested for the only item of council reporting out of closed session this evening. Councillor Gilliland, how do you vote? Councillor Gilliland votes yes. Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson? Councillor Thompson votes yes. Councillor Humphreys? Yes. Councillor Humphreys votes yes. Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Kim votes yes. Councillor Gartner? Sorry, Councillor Gartner, you're on mute there.
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Council confirming bylaw. Someone like to move that? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Kim, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Kim, Councillor Humphreys, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, the time is now 7:02 p.m. on Tuesday, November the 16th, 2021. I'd like to start with our land acknowledgement. We'd like to start by acknowledging the land on which we live and work is a traditional territory of the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples whose presence here continues to this day. Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaties First Nations. We acknowledge and thank them for sharing this land with us. A shared understanding of how the rich culture heritage that has existed for centuries and of how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together in a better future, into a better future. May I please have a motion to approve the revised agenda? Councillor Kim, Councillor Thompson, any questions or comments on the agenda? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, there are no community presentations. Delegations, we have 3 this evening. We begin with delegation 6.1 is Fiona Durant, Rebecca Murdoch, and Shaheen Moladina. Regarding the Aurora Black community, welcome. Please state your name and be reminded you have 5 minutes for your delegation.
Thank you, councillors. I believe we have a video that's sent in. I'm not sure who is supposed to play it or how it works.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us, Mayor and Town Council and Town staff. My name is Rebecca Murdoch and I'm the Secretary of Aurora Black Community, ABC. Tonight I wanted to ask you, how can we get a space of our own? Risha has been instrumental in helping us with the Aurora Public Library in our programming. She's offered us spaces as soon as the building and the renovation is finished. But in the meantime, we need someone that's inclusive and accessible for people from the community to feel they can meet with us, learn about our programs, so we can meet and collaborate with other group coordination and other group associations.
Good evening, Mayor Town Maracus and councillors. I wanted to speak about the communication with the town. Our first project that involved the town was Black History Month. Relationship with the town is essential. Can you outline the process of communication with the town to increase productivity in our collaborative work? Is there a document of instructions for associations that work with the town? Aurora Black Community Association would like to ensure we have efficient communication with you.
No, everybody looking to me. Hi, good evening, guys. Thank you so much again, as Rebecca said, for having us. Good evening, Mayor Maracus and councillors and team. Thank you, guys. I want to draw your attention to the documents that was sent to you, the 1-year report of the Aurora Black Community Association progress and the terms of reference from the task force. I am just so proud of the community work that we have done so far. We are not tooting our own horns. We are saying what the community is saying. People are very engaged, and we are really pumped and looking forward to our 2022 plan. We have that, as you can see on your line, what we have planned for next year, and we really want that to work well with our town partnership relationship that we have with you. So far, what we have done, we've created better cultural connection in our town. We have created strategic partnership and developed allyship in our towns for collective change. We have taken action and created solutions for things in supporting families. And you know, one of the families that we've helped, whether it was from families who are looking for food or family who are facing racist experience here in our town. We have created cross-cultural dialogue for everyone through shared experience, so through our culinary cooking programs. And so you have a list of what we have done. We have put on Aurora First Black History Month celebration, and so humbled and proud to have done that with the town. And we have also created opportunities to speak with, to build relationship with places like the Aurora Legion, the Aurora Cultural Center, the Chamber of Commerce, the BIA, the Legion, the town of Aurora and staff and council. And so for me, it is essential for us to have follow that same momentum and work effectively with the town task force. There has been some difficulty in doing so, and so we would love to find out from the town. Have you have a report from the task force of what I've done so far on the terms of reference which you have in your possession? It says that one of the duties and function is to work with community associations. We would like to know what community association has a task force worked with so far and how to get on that list of organization to work with. Again, we believe that, I think Rebecca said it perfectly to me in a conversation, being the train tracks, there's 2 train roll going parallel. If one run off, the next one is going to run off the track, something like that. It's not my paraphrase, it's her analogy, and I love that because we are going in one direction for one cause. And so we would love to know, again, the roles and responsibility of our councils to govern and provide accountability and leadership to the task force, because the task force affects me. And especially why this mattered to me, I've been told before by people that I love and trust that, Fiona, add a little sugar here, add a little lemonade here, because you don't want to come off as the angry Black woman. That in itself for me is systematic racism. That in itself for me said there's an issue that the first thing, if my passion rose, it can be seen as an angry Black woman. And so there's work to be done in our town, and we do not want red tape, political views, or anything at all, lack of communication, lack of collaboration to affect the work that the town is needed, because we see progress. We see progress, and I'm sure you see our progress, and you have a report. We're looking forward to, we're not going to go over that. We're looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. Thank you so much again. Have a good night. We're 8
Thank
seconds
you.
over.
Take care. Bye now.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much to each of you. It was a great presentation. Well done and streamlined, that's for sure. There was a whole lot of questions in there. And I think that I was consulting with the clerk for a moment, and I'm thinking that maybe it would be best if I could have a motion to receive the comments of the delegation and refer to staff, because there's a lot of work here to be done in terms of answering all the questions. I think it's really important that we, sorry, there's a bit of feedback here. I think it's really important that we get those answered and that we learn together how to get through those and work perfectly well together. So if all is okay, I think I'd love to have a motion to receive and refer to staff to work on this as SUMMI project to answer the questions. Do I have a mover? Councillor Gilliland and Councillor Gartner. Any questions, comments before we move forward? I do again believe it's going in the right direction for us for sure. Councillor Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's for you just to, I guess, the delegates. I know it looks like your questions are going to be answered, but I did want to just get a quick sense how the Aurora Black community is connecting with the task force, and how is that relationship? You mentioned a little bit in the presentation, but I'm eager to understand how that relationship is and how effective it is.
Thank you, Councillor Gallo. I believe this is probably one of the things that I heard through the questions tonight that we need to clarify, but absolutely Fiona or Rebecca or Shaheen, if anyone would like to respond.
Thank you for your questions and through you, Madam Chair. This is why we brought this here. I've spoken to the mayor about this as well, because there hasn't been any relationship. The relationship has been damaged, and this is why I want to know how to address it where it's a healthy way, because we understand that the leading council, there's some work need to be done in that relationship. As you know, I was on the task force and I have to remove myself, but I didn't want that to block our work. So I feel that there's some issues that I brought to the mayor's attention. I've also asked to have a closed session because, again, we want it to be a healthy conversation and results. And so I understand I can't have a closed session because of quorum. So at this point, we're hoping that moving forward, I'll be able to have an opportunity as a group to meet with at least 2 or 3 councillors at the same time, to not meet quorum, to address some of the issues that we're having, because I know that our councillors are working on our behalf of our town and want to do well and want to serve us well, but there's some unethical behaviors and things that we're experiencing that I would love to address privately. I hope that answers your questions. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Well, I guess it does, that the relationship is somewhat broken, and looks like some attempts are being made to try to fix that, which I think is a good thing. So, I mean, whatever accommodations you need in terms of meetings, I'm happy to be there and try to understand what the issues are and try to fix them, because it's important that both bodies work well together for the same goal, and it's important that happens.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Gallo. Any further questions or comments? Again, I do want this. I think there's a lot of information. I really appreciate you coming forward this evening. It's wonderful to see you here. And I know we'll be able to work together wonderfully. I think staff has some work to do to answer those questions so we can make some policies and procedures that help everybody. I think that's the clarity and communication I think we're all looking for. I think we've wonderful for ABC and ourselves for sure. Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair, to the group. I see you all here. First, I want to say thank you very much for coming to council to speak today. It takes a lot of courage to speak in front of us and also talk about some of the challenges that you might be having. So yeah, I think you guys went about it the right way. Give us a great presentation, outlined all the questions that you have. It will be referred to staff, which is great. So I'm happy to hear that they will be working alongside to ensure that you get some answers, but absolutely my door is open. Throw me some dates and let's meet, and we'll go through this and see what we can iron out. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Any further questions, comments? All right, seeing none, I just want to get thank you. Oh yes, Councillor Gallo. So
just quickly, just in terms of next steps, just so I'm clear and they're clear, is it going to be internal in terms of staff communicating with them? Is that the process through you to whoever will be dealing?
Yeah, thank you through Councillor Gallo. My understanding and confirmation with the clerk a bit earlier when I was hearing all the questions, I thought we really need to have a significant communication policies, delivered so that it's official and communication clear. Because I could hear some of the, issues. So I think it'd be great for staff to work directly with Aurora Black community, ABC, and hopefully it'll be shared the results of those discussions with ourselves as well.
We're leaving it that staff will be communicating with them too.
At this point, yeah, I think it needs to be that way. I believe.
Okay.
Official. It's official, and yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yes, Fiona.
So because communication has been a challenge, do we have an expected time that we can say staff will be reaching out to us after today?
Yes, you know what? Let me follow up with that. I think as
Okay.
a counselor, I'll do that, Fiona.
Okay.
I will follow up after our meeting this evening with this clerk and this evening's, we will make sure we do that and that you understand when we'll be getting in touch and working together. We won't leave anyone hanging for sure. And I think you have commitment around the table here that we all want to support that for sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. I think Shaheen, did you want to speak? I see your hand.
Hello. So I'm Shaheen Maladina, and I also wanted to know if there would be a policy to help us communicate with the task force and some set guidelines. Unfortunately, right now, communication with the task force hasn't been very good. So we would also like some help from town council with that so that we can have a fruitful relationship with the town and ourselves.
Sure, absolutely. So just to clarify, council has asked staff to do just that. We set policy and staff create it for us. So we've asked staff to listen to your concerns and questions and develop the processes and procedures for that policy. Absolutely. So that's the directive we've given this evening. And that's the outcome we're all expecting. So thank you very much for your clarity. And I think when you begin the discussions and more further clarification, we'll get where we all need to be. Thank you.
Good night, guys. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to that. Councillor Gilliland, did you have further? Okay. You're good? Okay. Anything else? All right. Well, I want to again thank you all so much. I know that this will become an excellent relationship moving forward. I know it will be. We've got town staff and council that are 100% behind everyone. So we'll get there. Thank you very much for coming this evening. And I really appreciate your heart and soul being here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a great evening. All in favor? I think I need to do that, don't I? All in favor? All right, opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much for the delegation. All right, moving on to the second delegation of the this evening. Delegation 6.2 is Steve Arms, resident regarding item 9.1 PDS 21105, heritage permit application file HPA 2020-04 regarding 74 Center Street. Welcome. Please state your name and be reminded you have 5 minutes for your delegation. So I believe Steve should be on. Steve Arms.
Just one moment, if I may, Madam Chair.
No problem.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Mr. Mayor, members of council, town staff, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Steve Arms, and along with my wife, Rebecca Murdoch, we are the owner occupants of 78 Center Street, the heritage property directly east of the property you're being asked to approve this evening. Now, before I go any further, let me be crystal clear yet again. We are not opposing the redevelopment of this property. That needs to happen and has unanimous support of the neighbors and community. What we are opposed to is the design as well as the significant increase in density and excessive variances these plans would involve. The neighbors are fully supportive of an appropriate redevelopment of this property and have stated this numerous times to council, to the Committee of Adjustment, and to HAC. Unfortunately, the applicant has brought forward multiple designs, all of which are not appropriate for this property for numerous reasons. And at each and every meeting, he was advised to revise his plans to appropriately reflect the Heritage District, as well as the appropriate density for the building and neighborhood. Each time the applicant has stated he will do so, and yet continues to return with plans for multifamily buildings for between 4 and 6 families. At both the July COA and September HAC meetings, the applicant was told by both committees that this property would support a single family dwelling, a duplex, or perhaps with the right design and appropriate accommodations, a duplex with a legal fire-rated basement apartment, which would allow him to effectively have a legal triplex. In fact, one of the HAC members, who is an accomplished and professional developer, with significant heritage experience even offered free consulting and design assistance, including an introduction to his draftsman. Mr. Kinsella did caution the applicant to work with the designer for a single-family duplex or duplex with legal basement apartment and to consult with the neighbors before bringing this back to council or committees. Unfortunately, the applicant only paid lip service to this generous offer and continued to do what he wanted, only advising the neighbors 36 hours before he filed these plans that are before you tonight. In addition, I should note that Mr. Kinsella suggested the applicant reduce the width from 36 to 32 feet. Instead, he enlarged the width of the building to 40 feet. There are numerous issues with the current design, as there have been with all the previous ones. Many of the issues are the same, which is disappointing, as the applicant has received a lot of good feedback from all the committees, council, and the neighbors, but has no interest in heeding this advice or feedback. Now, there is one small issue I'd like to quickly address, as I understand the applicant will be bringing it up in his delegation, and as such, I would not be able to rebut. And that's the issue of the accurate and most recent survey conducted in July 2018. This survey was necessary as the applicant had begun calling the police on my family for parking on what he claimed was his property, the middle of my driveway, based on a survey that he received when he bought the home. I undertook a complete survey of the property, which included multiple transit points on Catherine Street, Center Street, and other established landmarks. The applicant's claim was proven to be entirely incorrect. The survey was provided to the applicant in 2018 and is indisputable, as the steel pegs dating back to the 1800s were located by the surveyor. This is the survey that's on file with the town. Throughout this process, the applicant has denied the existence of the survey, then tried to claim it's the same as what he had when he bought the property, but now he's willing to admit it exists. Strangely, however, all of his submission plans and paperwork have used the other survey, which is not current or accurate. At the very least, by admitting the 2018 survey exists and is more recent and detailed than what he has, it will necessitate his existing and future plans be revised, and they should be using the 2018 survey. Anything else is intentionally misleading and inaccurate and will only cause legal problems down the line. Now, with regard to the current building proposed, there are 4 glaring issues that make it inappropriate. The building proposed is a massive, tall, overbearing structure that more closely resembles a medical arts building rather than a residential home in a heritage area. First, the 4-foot elevation out of the ground plus 9-foot basement ceilings, as outlined in these plans, clearly show his continued intention to build illegal basement apartments and turn this proposed triplex into a 5-plex. Again, the applicant has been advised that basement apartments would not be allowed, but we all know how hard it is to stop someone from building an illegal basement after the fact. Second, the sheer size of the structure and the parking area significantly reduce the softscape and will definitely affect the drainage and green space in this area, which has already been shown to be an area prone to flooding. Now that we're entering the winter season, the issue of snow removal and access via this west laneway is clearly a significant issue. This was noted by COA in similar plans this past summer, which were rejected by the committee. Thirdly, regarding the proposed parking of 4 spots is likely not sufficient, as the applicant himself owns 2 large vehicles and will need more than half the parking for his own family, since he claims he'll be living there. Well, I'm still very skeptical of that, as we've heard that from every previous attempted development of 74. His response at HAC in September was, quote, "Well, they can just park on the street," close quote. But there's a 3-hour only parking sign located less than 6 feet from his front door. So I'm unsure how he thinks that'll work. The town has already been concerned about the increase in traffic on Center Street. This will only further compound that problem. If we end up with a 5-plex, folks, that's 10 to 12 cars. He can barely fit 4. Fourthly, the heritage trees located on the property, including the pine tree on the east border shared with my home, will be impacted by the required excavation for this monstrous building. That's been repeatedly stated at all the meetings. The home needs to be sized and built to fit in and enhance the heritage neighborhood, not simply cover as much property as possible. Now, our disappointment and concerns around this development are very clear. The applicant's trying to build a multifamily building that far surpasses the capacity of the lot in a heritage area. He has been advised of this on several times and has been given clear guidance on paths to success with 3 different options. He's paid lip service to the advice and guidance and continues to try and get as many rental units as he can. His story about those units also flips flops. One day it's affordable housing, the next day they're luxury units at $3,500 a month. He will simply say whatever he thinks will get him what he wants. Now, on Friday, October 15th, we received the plans from the applicant, who said he was submitting them to the town on October 17th with no neighborhood consultation. And he commented in the attached email, and I quote, "The standards in Aurora are too high. How do they expect people to tear down these old houses if they have so many rules?" Close quote. This in and of itself shows the applicant has no understanding of developing in a heritage area. As has been noted by many people, including Hack, we have one chance to get this right. It's not something we can slap up and fix later. And to close, I'd just like to quote the mayor himself, who on October 22nd said, and I quote, "If intensification is not done properly, it could lead to overdevelopment that would impact existing neighborhoods." That's exactly what we're talking about today. The applicant has a clear path to a single family home, duplex, or duplex with a legal fire rated basement. All of these can be done appropriately in a historically sensitive fashion and could even include intensification inside the heritage area. But that's as much as 74 Center can sustain. There are options that the local neighbors and community would support. On behalf of our neighborhood, please don't simply rubber stamp the further degradation of our heritage, but let's work together to preserve our heritage and community and insist on a responsible, appropriate redevelopment of 74 Center with one of those three models. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Arms. I really appreciate the delegation. May I have a motion to receive the delegation and refer the comments to item 9.1? Councilor Gilliland, Mayor Marakis. Any comments or questions? Councilor Gilliland.
Thank you, through Madam Chair. Just first, I just want to say thank you so much for delegating and being very articulate with your dates and facts and your communication. I certainly agree that the heritage area in Aurora is extremely precious and dear to my heart and dear to a lot of Aurorians. That's why we designated that area as heritage, and we have guidelines that we must adhere to. And this is why it's very special that we should make sure that when we are going to be doing intensified development, that we do it right. And this is our chance to set kind of, I guess, the precedence, the tone of how that's going to look. And obviously, we want to make sure that what's being brought forward is going to reflect our natural heritage area. Just a quick question about the development. I know that you were talking about the legal conforming basement and the designs with single floors. I do like that kind of design concept. I do see that in Toronto a lot. When I was down there as younger, there's a lot of single detached homes, and it was the norm. You would have someone living on the top floor, main floor, basement, and it felt like your own kind of, I guess, suite, for lack of a better term. I actually felt like I was living in a house. Forgot that there was people downstairs. And I'm just curious, just from your own community consultation in your neighborhood, were the neighbors receptive to that idea of having that legal raised basement with the two floors as a triplex? Was that something that was received well in your neighborhood?
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Gilliland. Yes, when that idea was brought up by Mr. Kinsella, who suggested it during the last HAC meeting, I wasn't able to say immediately that I could speak on behalf of all of the community, because obviously we would need to get some feedback. But definitely the ability to take a home that would appear to be either a single family home or a duplex and have three basically identical suites, one on top of another, is something that most definitely received a lot of support. And I honestly believe that with a plan like that brought forward, the developer would have the support of the neighborhood. We could have something that would fit into this smaller lot. You know, 74 Center is smaller than my yard, than my next door neighbors, or 7072. We could have something that would still preserve that green space, that heritage look, that would be able to have three suites. That would increase the intensification from what we currently have, which is a single family dwelling, and still be able to preserve all the aspects of why people buy in a heritage area. People don't buy in a heritage area to cut down big trees and clear cut and try and pave everything. So I really believe that that's a very solid plan. And when Mr. Kinsella brought that up, we were very hopeful as the applicant seemed to embrace that idea and said, oh, that's good. I think I could do something. Can you guarantee me if I bring you that, you'll pass it? And they said, no, bring us something first. I was very disappointed when we received the plans on October 15th, only to discover that no, we're back to basically, whether you want to admit it's a fiveplex or not, it's a fiveplex. So why don't we just all put our cards on the table? He's saying he needs a triplex. Let's do a duplex with a legal, fire-rated, approved basement apartment. It can be slightly elevated. I understand that, but we would be able to do something that would be much more appropriate and that the neighborhood could embrace.
Thank you. And just on top of that, with you in relation to your pine and heritage, and I know we often talk about heritage trees, and they are so important to our landscapes. And clearly, you have a rather old pine there. And we just literally had staff and an arborist decide not to install a sidewalk because of the damage it could incur by the digging of a sidewalk. And just judging by the close proximity and how large scale the home, it's also another thing to consider. So I appreciate you taking the time to have your property surveyed. And I think that does also play a role in the size of the home that's there. It's appropriate with the snow removal. So you've really put forward some good points. And I look forward to speaking with staff on this further. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Gill. And is there Councillor Gallo?
Thank you, Steve, for presenting and detailed review. I just have one question, and then I have a bunch for staff later on, just confirmation. In the report, it speaks to the potential addition of units in the basement, and it speaks to should they want to do that, they'd have to go through a whole process and get approval through a minor variance. And it also states that as a precautionary measure, staff will include a clause in the site plan agreement that will be registered on title to advise future owners that a secondary dwelling unit is not permitted. I'm going to assume, and maybe you can speak to it, that doesn't give you enough comfort to say that it's only going to be a triplex, and they cannot, unless they go through those processes, a minor variance, that they won't be having units in the basement.
Mr. Arms?
Through the chair to Mr. Gallo. Mr. Gallo, the only thing I can say on that is, and pardon my flippant response, mama raised ugly kids, not stupid ones. You don't put 13-foot ceilings into a building saying it's a basement. You don't put large windows in a walkout and try and claim that they're not going to be used for that reason. In addition, we all are not naive enough to believe that there are not already illegal basement apartments, even in the heritage area. Why would we approve plans that would set this up? I understand, and I remember back at a previous council meeting, Mayor Marakis consulted with the town lawyer to say, could we put something in the title? Most definitely. Do people go without following code? Most definitely. You see that on a regular basis. You see bylaw enforcement come after it. Clearly, the best approach to this is to eliminate that possibility at all. And the reason for that is very simple. We're making a building so high that we can do 3 stories and then sneak a couple more in underneath. In doing that, excuse me, and I'm not just being cynical here, there isn't room for the cars for 5 suites. There's barely room for 4 cars. In fact, if you look at the plans that are before you right now, that front parking space that exists on the far east piece of the property doesn't even have road access. Is it supposed to jump over the curb and land? Like, the plans are not accurate and the plans are not thought out. It's clear what's being done here is to set up for whether it is this current owner or another one to turn this into a 5-plex. That's not something that is suitable for the heritage area. And there's a very easy way to preclude that, which is to allow him to have a legal triplex that doesn't allow for 2 additional floors.
Thank you, Mr. Arms. Councillor Gallo?
Okay, I'm a little confused on the 2 additional floors. Right now, it's a 2-story with a basement.
So on
you're saying have a legal basement, have a legal first floor, and have a legal second floor as a triplex. Is that what you're recommending?
Through the chair to Mr. Gallo, yes, Mr. Gallo, that's exactly what Mr. Kinsella recommended. He had actually done it in several places in Toronto, described it during the HAC meeting quite thoroughly. What we're currently looking at is a plan with a master suite on the second floor. On the main floor, you would have 2 partial like 2 halves of that main floor. And then supposedly, according to the applicant, the basements were just going to be for TV rooms. Why they need 13-foot ceilings and exits that are clearly designed for something else. Let's put all our cards on the table. The applicant says he needs a triplex to make this work financially for him. Okay, there's a way it can be done that will fit inside here. And that is a legal duplex with a fire rated, legally approved, and properly developed basement. 3 single floor units stacked that would be beautiful. Right now, if you look, as a little bit of a side, if you look at the current plans to get up to the 2nd floor, which is the master floor, you're going up a 4-foot incline and then 10 feet almost vertically on his design. Let's stop playing games. You need a triplex? A triplex can be done. Let's do it as a duplex with a legally fire rated basement apartment. Let's still have a nice yard. Let's not affect the trees. We can have sufficient parking, sufficient green space, and you can get the 3 units you need. And if that's not acceptable, the reason is he's not trying for 3 units. He's trying for more.
Okay, thank you. I'll be asking staff some questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gallo. Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, I just wanted to thank you very much. Steve, you've always come very well prepared and documentation. Just one question, if that's okay. I'm a chair. Usually I'm only supposed to facilitate the meeting, but I'd like to ask you, was there a meeting? I think you mentioned October 17th. Plans were submitted. Was there a meeting with the residents prior to that submission?
Through yourself? No, we received an email late in the evening of October 15th saying I'm submitting these to the town on the 17th. I'll be out front tomorrow if you want to talk about it. There was no consultation prior, which again was something that at the hack meeting, Mr. Kinsella said, before you start submitting things and before you come back with more plans with problems, put your ideas together, talk with the residents, then have your plans, then review them. Instead, we went through the same process again. I've got plans and I'm submitting them in 36 hours over a weekend.
Right, thank you so much. It's disappointing because I was at that meeting, but I thought that the information was going to be was wonderfully generously given. And anyway, thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. All those in favor? Opposed? Delegation is received and carries. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr.
We'll move on now to a 3rd delegation this evening. Delegation 6.3 is Hassan Faraji, owner, and David Ekwal, architect, regarding item 9.1 PDS 21105 Heritage Permit Application File HPA 2020-04 74 Center Street. Welcome, and please state your name. Be reminded again that we have 5 minutes for your delegation. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Madam Chair. My name is David Ekwal, and I am the architect for this project, 74 Center Street. Just heard some of the comments. That's just gonna. I'd like to point out that we have revised these drawings based on the comments we received from the neighbors. The meeting we had, the town of design review panel, the comments we received from Heritage Advisory Committee, and the even the Committee of Adjustment and
I think
modification to the design. And with your permission, I'm going to share my screen that shows basically the design that came out of all these recommendations. And basically we have a beautifully designed building that really, I believe, as an architect, fits the neighborhood quite well. We took ideas from surrounding buildings. The porch design is an idea from Hillary House. So, and we applied the comments we received from a ton of our design review panel with regards to parking that they wanted to be located at the back. And then we reduced the parking spaces to 3 at the back to accommodate more green space. We introduced more landscaping at the back to break the, the visual barrier, to create a visual barrier from the back. And basically, I mean, this design works quite beautifully, I believe, addressing all the comments we received. Just keeping in mind that the Mr. Arm is not the only one that actually provided some comments. We had to address many other comments that came to us and suggestions. And basically, this design, having the parking spaces at the back, was recommendation by ton of our the design review panel. So, I mean, it is kind of unfair to suggest that the client did not do what actually was asked to, and he did not try its best to accommodate, some of the recommendation. It is, I absolutely, I think it would be unfair to make a suggestion such as that. And then there is a comment that says the basement is going to be, it's 13 foot high or things like that. It is not true. We have designed the basement as 8 foot high ceiling, and it is used by the first floor occupants. And you can see in these design that there is a staircase to the basement, as is so typical with any other residential neighborhoods that they have a basement. So, I mean, we can be unreasonable, really, I mean, with our comments, but it's not right to make accusation that, I mean, the client has ulterior intention or wants to make illegal use of the building, to rent it to 5 other occupants or, create 5 units. I think we have to be fair in our, what we say in these committees and what we are trying to convey. You ask us to provide you better design, and we tried our best. And you can say this is going to be a beautiful addition in that neighborhood. And why come out so strongly against the, you can come out against survey drawing, which is done by Ontario land surveyor, who's done his job. And if you have any problem with them, you can take it with Ontario land surveyors. Why are you picking up on this project? I mean, I just want to see some fairness in this application. The comments just seem so outrageous.
David, you're approaching your 5-minute mark, but if you want to continue, I'll give you a little bit more time.
I just want to show this survey drawing, and you can see the signature of the land surveyors. They are Ontario surveyors. So if there is any issue with these people, you can take it up with the Ontario Land Registry, or if there is any issues such as that, you can take it up with them. But trying to make accusation toward the client is just unfair. Thank you very much. I'm here if you have any questions, and
Great.
I'd
Thank
like
you.
to answer
Yes.
as best of my ability. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate your presentation. At this point, hold on, don't go anywhere. If I could have a motion to receive and refer the comments to item 9.1, if I may have a mover and a seconder, we can have some comments. Would anyone, Councillor Kim? Anyone else to move this forward for discussion? Mayor Maracus? All right, so any questions or comments for the delegate? I see Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Ekbal and Faraji for delegating. You know, we always say that when the best developments happen when residents and the developers work in collaboration and partnership. And the last time this was at General Committee, we were assured that there was going to be some discussion and collaboration. So can you, Mr. Ekbal, confirm what level of discussion there was between you and the neighboring residents to have that collaboration?
Mr. Ekbal.
Through you, Madam Chair, I have listened to all the committee videos that was available. Mr. Fragy, who is the owner of the property, has been in discussion with them. They made some comments previously. We took all those ideas. Also, the comments came from, there is a report from one of our design review panel that everyone can refer to. And there is certain guidelines they are proposing that we should follow. And this design is really exactly following what's being proposed by all the other these parties. And I do understand the, Mr. Kinsella made some suggestions that this is possible, but is he the only person who is allowed to make comments? And should we forego all the other comments received from the design review panels, or committee of adjustments, or any other committee? I mean, it's just not one party of interest in this application. We try to summarize and put together a package that address the best way possible. And I think this really addresses that.
Thank you. Dr. Kim?
So thank you, Mr. Ekbal. So what I'm hearing is that between Mr. Kinsella and the residents, there was really not much conversation or discussion whatsoever. It was really just as the resident described.
Through you, Madam Chair, if I may respond.
One other question, Mr. Ekbal. That was just a comment. There were some suggestions that were made this evening by the residents, and I'm just wondering, like, if that suggestion is something that might be doable. I mean, from a cost perspective, it doesn't seem like it's that far off from what you've designed thus far. And if truly this is a triplex, have you considered the recommendation that residents have put forward?
Mr. Ekbal?
Through you, Madam Chair, I just want to say the things that we address that residents, neighboring residents actually raised previously was the depth of the building, which we shrunk it to comply with zoning, and was amount of windows in front, which we have modified that, height of the building, and many other things. I mean, it should be noted that this building actually follows zoning on, the depth of the building. I could show you the site statistics, which you could see that the coverage on this building is actually below what's recommended or what's allowed by zoning. The zoning allowed 35%, but what we have here is actually, what we have here is actually 30.32%. height of the building is actually quite below what zoning actually allows. The zoning allows 10 meters. This building is actually 7.93. So it's not that monstrous building that is being portrayed. We actually accommodated all those previous comments to lower the building, to make it smaller, and as much as it was possible. So we did actually hear what was recommended from the neighbors, and we actually made the suggestions into this design. And as you can see, now the building is only 15.7, as it was 18 meters before. So the building depth is reduced quite a bit, and the parking spaces has been reduced as they recommended it. And so I do not really understand why they're still upset about what they recommended themselves, in terms of design. This has been implemented in this design, what they asked before. I know they are asking for, typical, but if you look at the design of this building, this is a typical residential. You don't know what's going on. Yeah, there is 3 units inside, but does it show it from outside? You would think this is just a typical single family dwelling.
Thank you, Mr. Eckrell. Just one last question through you, Madam Chair, is I couldn't tell from the diagrams, but is there a walk-up condition from the basement?
In the back, we received comments from planning department that they want to have some amenity spaces from the back. So planning suggested to have some amenities such as balconies. So there is a walkout from the back, but these walkouts are actually related to the basement, which is accessible from the first floor units. So as you can see, these are the 2 units on the first floor. Each one has the access stairs to the basement. And as I said, it's a typical residential house that has access to the basement. And also they have a door at the back. And yes, if anybody wants to violate the law, they can violate it in many different ways. But making suggestion that this client has this intention, it's accusation really, and that's not allowed. Because if somebody wants to do this, then that is illegal and it can be reported really. So why should we not take it as what we see and not try not to make accusation as the client is trying to do this or that? That's not right.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think Councillor Gallo, no, doesn't have us. Maybe. Okay, Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair, to David. Just curious, I'm not so sure if you answered Councillor Kim's question. It was similar to what I was going to ask, and that was, have you considered the design that was presented to you with the legal conforming basement and then the main floor and then the second floor? You would still be a triplex, but just would be configured differently. Is that something that you had considered?
Frankly, it was considered, through you, Madam Chair, sorry. It was considered, but I mean, what would make it any different from this design? You still have 2 levels above and a basement. I think it just didn't make sense to do that in terms of, spaces that you would create. This type of design is actually more appropriate if you have to have 3 units. Having a unit in a basement, I think it's not right. A lot of people live in basement, and I believe, I mean, if they have a choice, they would not choose that. They would actually live and try to pick a unit above ground. And that's why we took this path, because anyway, the design would not actually change in terms of levels of the building.
Thank
They
you.
still have 2 levels above and 1 below. So what is different from this design?
Great, thank you. Councilor
Thank you.
Gilliland?
Thank you. I guess we can agree to disagree. I think that there are some designs that you dig your basement 4 feet down. You have a rather, high ceilings and large windows. You don't feel like you are in a basement. There's ways of doing it. You do have a walkout. So I'm just curious as to why you decided to design a separating wall with 2 separate basements and spend the money with 13-foot ceilings and a walkout. What was the rationale for that?
Through you, Madam Chair, it's not 13-foot ceiling, it's 8-foot ceiling in the basement.
8-foot ceiling, sorry, pardon me.
Yes, yeah. And then it's because to provide more space for the units above. Each unit has a basement space, and the unit on the 3rd floor has the whole level. So this is a good design from our perspective as architects.
And I'm just curious, I guess the way I feel, it's an expensive storage area, but curious as to the snow storage. I know that there's parking in the back and parking in the front. And have you considered the snow storage? From what I've been told already, that there's less grass and green space that's being presented, that had already not passed the committee adjustment. So you must have a snow storage strategy plan.
Madam Chair, there is a snow storage, plenty of storage space at the back, because we created a large buffer between the parking spaces and the rear property line. So there's quite a bit of space for snow storage. And it's actually quite more than what you need. There is a number that we can arrive to if we are asked to, but this amount of space we have at the back is more than enough for snow storage than for a typical house like this.
Curious as to the parking spot at the front. You have an elevation there. It was mentioned by the other delegate that there is nowhere to enter and exit. It looked like you were jumping a curb over some grass. I'm just really confused about this design. If you wouldn't mind just explaining what you meant by the parking situation there.
Well, since we provided 3 parking spaces at the back, there was, we thought 1 parking space would be appropriate. This was one thing that was raised by our design review panel, that it would be more appropriate to have parking spaces in front as well, similar to any other residents that are parking in front. So this was to kind of accommodate the easier parking access for visitor parking. And I understand that this design actually ends the parking space at the property line, but I mean, the driveway actually has to make a connection to the road, yes. But as you can see in the site plan, it is actually appropriately shown, except that this has to extend and make a driveway opening in here. Yes, you're right.
Okay, so it doesn't through you, Madam Chair. So it doesn't necessarily show a connection as of yet. Okay, well, I think that's all the questions I have for you now. I'll defer to staff. I guess I could say my final comments would be is that I am a little concerned about the massing of the driveway and the hardscapes, lack of permeable surfaces. It's a rather large backyard, prone to flooding. There's a lot of different things to consider here with the size and scale. There are other options, and I just really, I'm not really quite sure how I feel about what's being presented. But I'm gonna leave that and defer it to staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions of the delegate? Okay, I just thank you very much for your delegation. And I know you may feel that the residents and ourselves are giving you a hard time, but it's a heritage designated area and there's a lot of passion in our little town to keep it, as much as it can be, suitable. And I appreciate the updated drawings. I think one of the biggest concerns for me, and you don't need to answer this, Mr. Egbal, I'm just speaking just some comments because I'm on the Heritage Committee. One of the things that was key was one of our members provided some generous support for your client, and he did take him up on it, which I'm happy about. But one of the key things that was mentioned, and the developer on our committee said it was crucial that you don't even send out any diagrams, don't do anything, speak to the residents first, tell them what your plans are, meet again, review the plans, and then submit. And that's the key missing. And when that happens, after, council, staff, HAC, Howard has constantly said that, and it doesn't follow through, there's a little bit of, this is where there's a lack of trust, right? I'm not saying no one's doing anything wrong. It's just communication. I think if we communicated, I believe a lot of this could have been avoided. I really do, because I believe you're on the right track. I think absolutely you've gone to our staff panel of design panel. I know that for me, if there was just a little bit more communication with the residents, confirmation of what you're doing, I think people would have felt a little at ease and move forward. And this is not typical. This is not unique to your case. We do this for all developers and owners who want to change in a designated heritage area. It's very strict. And that's why I know that you're probably feeling a little bit hard done by or unfair, but this is what it is. It's Aurora, and we want to keep our treasure of our heritage area that way. So I appreciate the effort, but I really hope you're heard some of the comments, because I think there's a little more ways to go. And I would have loved for you guys to have met the residents before. For me, that's a big missing. Oh, I see Mayor Maracas would like to speak. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, and I just did want to ask one question before we close this off and move into the items. And just through you to David. David, is your client willing to another extension?
I believe so. Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's really wonderful. Mr. Egbal, I'm just a comment. Oh, and I see Councillor Gallo would like to speak. But if that's the case, you're showing, for me, partnership and integrity to continue to work together. And maybe we can march forward the way we make all each other, trust what we're doing. Councillor Gallo, I'm sorry. Councillor Gallo has some questions.
Thank you. Just quickly, I still want to hear from staff, and I have some questions, but I did want to say to both of you that there's one thing I do completely agree with you, that it's unfair for anyone to make accusations that you're going to be doing something illegal, and that's unfair, and it's not reflective of the rest of us. We need to have trust in our partners that they're going to be following what they say they're going to be doing. So I just wanted to make you aware that that's how I feel.
Thank you, Councillor Gallo. Yes, and that was very good. I appreciate those comments. Absolutely. Again, I think that just comes right down to communication. I really do. And I think that can be cleared up moving forward. And I want to thank you very much for your comments on an extension. That would be incredible. Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor of the delegation? Opposed? Delegation is approved, carries. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this evening. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Consent agenda. We don't have any consent items. We're going on to advisory committee meeting minutes. May I have a motion to receive advisory committee meeting minutes item 8.1 and 8.2? Councillor Gartner, Councillor Thompson, any comments or questions? Councillor Gartner? Oh, so you're on mute. You're on mute, Councillor Gartner?
Thank you.
There you go.
Just wanted to say with respect to the Accessibility Advisory Committee, I think their comments were very important about the electric vehicle charging station, making sure that's can be accessible. And they've also made a comment about our trail system and trying to make that more accessible. And I certainly would like to see at least some of the trails be accessible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gartner. Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration of items regarding discussion on our regular agenda, items 9.1 to 9.6. And we'll move forward on right now to item 9.1. May I have a mover and a seconder to put the item on the floor for discussion? Councillor Gilliland, Councillor Kim, any comments or questions? Mayor Marakis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I won't be able to support the recommendation as presented in front of us this evening. As there's a willingness to extend the permit, a heritage permit application. I would put forward that we ask for an extension. I don't know whether it's 30 or 60 days, whatever the applicant is comfortable with, that decision is ultimately theirs if they're agreeable to it, and to go back and continue to work with not only with the residents but also with staff and look at where we can get to a final decision that is something that is acceptable to everyone and acceptable to the community and acceptable to the Heritage District. So that's what I would like to see at this point. I think not much more to be said other than that. I will respond to one thing, and I think you mentioned it, Madam Chair. It is difficult to build in the town of Aurora.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why everyone wants to come live here.
That's right.
It's because of the way we do grow. We don't overdevelop our town. And it was mentioned by Mr. Arms. And when someone quotes you, yeah, it's absolutely a little bit difficult to disagree with them. So, I just think that there are some changes that I think that have improved the design. It's in a better place, but I don't think it's there yet. And I think that there needs to be a little bit more work on this before it gets finally approved. And so therefore, I would put forward that we ask for that extension and move forward in that direction. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Marakis. Councillor Gallo and Councillor Gartner afterwards. Councillor Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just some questions to staff. Could you just expand on the comments regarding the survey? I'm not sure who I direct this to.
Is Mr. Waters on or Brishant? Mr. Waters, thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair. I'm not really familiar with the survey. I know they've been going back and forth on the survey. The survey would come into effect as part of the building permit process. We would ask for that specifically, that we would have an updated survey submitted to us.
Thank you, Mr. Waters. Councillor Gallo.
That's unclear so far. In terms of complying with setbacks, height, use, all of those things, because I don't see sometimes we have statistics of what areas they're kind of straying outside of our zoning. How does this fit?
Thank you, Mr. Waters. Thank you, Councillor Gallo. Mr. Waters.
Through you, Madam Chair. It's important to remember that the heritage permit is not a land use matter. It deals with the design of the structure of the building as per the guidelines of the district plan. So this is what's before you is not a rezoning amendment. It's not a minor variance. So we haven't really delved into the zoning standards. But what I can tell you is that it is under the coverage for an R7 zone in terms of a triplex use. At this time, it will require a variance for lot area and also for frontage. Those are what we've identified to date that will be required prior to any building permit being issued.
Thank you, Mr. Waters. Councillor Gallo.
What for you, Madam Chair, would be the next steps? Would we get to a point where we analyze all those, or were those delegated to staff and it wouldn't come back to us. The only thing that we're dealing with here is the heritage permit application. None of that other stuff would come to us. It may go to a minor variance and the committee of adjustment, but we don't know that yet. Is that correct?
Right, through you, Mr. Waters, if you wouldn't mind.
Absolutely, Madam Chair. You're quite correct, Councillor Gallo. The next step would be to do a thorough zoning review and determine what variances are required. And then the applicant would be required to go in front of the Committee of Adjustment to seek relief to those standards that he is not complying with at the moment, based on the current design, or a future design for that matter.
Thank you, Mr. Waters.
Okay, and so we're not dealing with, through you, Madam Chair, we're not dealing with use. We're not dealing with, you know, one unit in the basement, first floor, one set. We're not dealing with that at this stage. Will we at some stage?
Mr. Waters?
For you, Madam Chair. This is subject to a minor site plan process, which does not go before council for approval. It's delegated to the director of planning. So any variances that are required to support the design will be subject to the Committee of Adjustment. They will not be presented to you. All you're dealing with at this point is the heritage permit.
And I'm just trying to put a whole picture together in terms of what this whole process would be, and those items would be the purview of a Committee of Adjustment, and they would be going through the use of the property, whether it's, you know, the first floor is using the basement, and then there's 2 on the second floor, or 2 on the first floor and 1 on the second floor, those types of things.
Right, Mr. Waters?
Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, that's correct. The committee would be going through from a land use perspective, but you know, it's based on the design. You know, we shouldn't be speculating as to whether the basement will be converted or whether they're setting it up for conversion. At this time, you know, they've not communicated to us that it's going to be converted into a basement apartment. And as we go through the building permit process and the site plan process, you know, we'll make sure that there's sufficient conditions in place to prohibit a basement apartment from being developed there illegally. However, it does not prejudice the applicant or a future owner from going through a process to establish a basement apartment in the future. It's entitled to do that under the Planning Act.
Thank you, Mr. Waters.
Through you, Madam Chair, if we were to not approve this tonight, what are the paths that the applicant could take?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Madam Chair, we need a decision from council before December 13th, either to have an extension or to refuse or to approve or to refuse the permit. If there is no decision, then it automatically gets approved. So we do need a decision one way or another from council before December 13th.
No, but sorry, through you, Madam Chair, if we don't approve this, what paths could the residents take, or the applicant take?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Madam Chair, he would be, his appeal rights would crystallize to the OLT.
To the OLT, okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. Okay, I don't know, I'm a bit of a mixed feeling with this. We have staff's full support from at least the report that we have here. We're not dealing with use, so the heritage permit does not deal with use, whether there's a basement apartment or not. It is not part of the discussion right now. I'm trying to bridge a gap between what they've proposed and what the concerns of the Heritage Committee as well as the residents were. And it seems like the biggest one is use, which is not what we're discussing. And it's certainly an issue for, a potential issue for the Committee of Adjustments to deal with. So there's a lot of unanswered questions. I have no issue if everyone is willing to pause and try to come up with an agreement. But I just want to be clear about what I'm voting for tonight, and it's not use. I don't have, and maybe it's another question through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Waters. The report from the Design Review Committee is not part of the package. Is that something that's out there that we can have access to?
Mr. Waters?
For you, Madam Chair. It report just summarizes the some of the major comments raised by the DRP. We can certainly have that available. I would just qualify that by saying the DRP really looked more at the site planning, the physical planning of the building, and not so much on design. But just we can definitely make that available to council if they wish that.
Thank you, Mr. Waters. Councillor Gallo?
I don't know how much time I have left, but maybe a quick question again through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Waters. We're dealing with the heritage application permit. And it also says permit the construction of a 2-story triplex dwelling at 74 Center Street. So that's what the recommendation right now is on the floor. The heritage permit application be approved to permit the construction of a 2-story. So we'd be agreeing tonight to recommend to council to agree with to the heritage permit application to approve a 2-story triplex dwelling. There's a lot of unanswered questions, and it's difficult for me to even understand what I am approving, even in terms of that resolution, when all of these other unanswered questions, it still has to go to the committee of adjustment. There's use issues, there's zoning issues. What am I approving to if I agree to that clause? Mr. Waters?
Sorry, Mr. Waters, I'm sorry.
For
Mr.
you,
Waters.
For you, Madam Chair. You are, but what's before you tonight is the design of the house, which is for a triplex. It's the house. It's not the use so much, but the way the recommendation is worded, it could have been to say that it be approved to permit the construction of a 2-story triplex dwelling. It's not. It doesn't mean that it'll be constructed tomorrow or a permit will be issued tomorrow. It means it's to move towards the construction eventually of a triplex on this property. So you're just looking at the heritage permit, which is a requirement because you're in an HCD. It's required at the building permit stage in order for the permit to be issued.
Still confusing to me, but I'll listen to the rest of my council members and see.
Waters, I'm sorry, Councillor Gallagher. I just want to clarify something. So what I understand through Mr. Waters is that we are approving the heritage permit application to be approved to permit the construction of a 2-story dwelling. So we're actually approving the dwelling. We are doing that, whether it's from a heritage perspective, which is what we're looking at this evening. And then there's some areas that have to go to committee of adjustments. So to me, we're approving the construction of this dwelling this evening. It's not just, we've got heritage impact assessment from, staff and design panel. And just as a keynote, guys, this never came back to heritage. So we never got it back for this meeting. We didn't see the revised plans at heritage. So anyway, through you, Mr. Mayor, is that okay? You're going to try to stop me. I just wanted to share that because I see that the heritage permit application be approved to permit the construction of a 2-story triplex dwelling at 74 Center Street. That's what we're doing this evening. And these comments, many of them are coming from a heritage perspective because this is a heritage district, designated district. It's slightly different than what we normally see. So correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Waters, but that's what I thought we were doing this evening.
Through you, Madam Chair, it's not the actual construction whereby a permit's going to be issued tomorrow. That still has to go through a variance process and has to go through building permit application. It's to permit the eventual construction. It's a bit of a play on words, but it's not intended that it supersedes all other approvals that are required.
Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay, it's clear as mud. Councillor Gallo, do you have any other questions?
Not for now, just listen to my other colleagues.
Thank you. I think Councillor Gartner, you're next, and then Councillor Gilliland. Councillor Gartner?
Thank you. Just while we're on the topic, through to you, Madam Chair, did HAC require that, I know HAC gave a lot of recommendations, which the developer did make the changes. Did HAC require that the new design would come back to it? I don't remember seeing that in the
I
minutes.
can answer that directly if I don't know if that's appropriate.
Yeah, I'm asking you directly.
Councillor Gartner, we had a HAC did expect it to come back because the view that we had was prior to the recommended input from HAC, and we didn't get it back. It went right to appropriate channels outside of coming back to HAC. So HAC had no input to this final design.
Thank you. I don't see anything in the minutes that required the developer to come back to HAC. I don't even think that HAC required the developer to do all of the changes that it suggested. Through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Waters. So with respect to use that was discussed, triplex is permitted as a right of use in the R7 zone.
Mhm.
That's a yes?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, that's correct, Councillor Gardner. R7 is permitted, and there are standards that are associated with the R7 zone.
Thank you. So it's not a question of not being the right use. Did the applicant comply with all of staff's requirements and the requirements in the district plan? I'm looking at page 4 and 5, and it seems to me that they did.
That's correct. Through you, Madam Chair, that is correct. It was our opinion that the revised plan did satisfy and exceed some of the standards or guidelines of the district plan.
Thank you. And I'm going to make a comment. You can say yes or no. I don't believe a council or our council has denied an approval because of what might be done in the future. The design is approved on what is presented. Thank you. This has been very interesting, this whole process. I have to say that the comment one of the delegates made that a resident, quotes, did caution the applicant. I find that disturbing. I also find it very disturbing, the distrust and the accusations that were expressed. This developer chose a design, kept changing the design, trying to comply with requirements of staff, the Heritage Review Committee, the Design Review Panel, the mandates of the Heritage District. And they finally came up with a new design that they would be comfortable with and that staff supports. I don't remember in 18 years any developer working so hard to comply with all of these various standards and requirements. This is a design that staff believes will fit in with the district. I think we should take that at face value. I think we should take what the developer is saying at face value, and I think we should approve the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gartner. Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Waters. As it stands now, it is only a zoned for a duplex at this time, correct?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Madam Chair. It actually, it has a variety of uses in the R7 zone that includes singles, semis, and duplex, triplexes. and the standards vary based on the use. And this zone does provide for a variety of multi-use type of dwellings.
Councillor Gilliland?
Thank you. I guess I was under the impression that currently it was only zoned for a duplex and not the triplex, and that they would have to go for some sort of a variance of sorts in order to have the triplex approved. You're saying that that is not true?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Madam Chair, no, that's not what I'm saying, Councillor. What I'm saying is that there's a variety of uses, multifamily uses within the R7 zone. Each have their own standards. Some are the same, some are different. In this case, the R7 has certain standards which will require a variance to be submitted to seek relief. Two we've identified to date, which is lot area and frontage. It appears at this time the balance of the standards are satisfied through the design, which is before you tonight.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Waters, as far as the tree next door and the survey, and there's been some discussion about what survey is the correct survey. And the tree comes in question as to where that property line is. Obviously I would like to see within this application that there's consideration for this actual tree that is considered a heritage tree. It is an older tree. And I don't see any of that being had any consideration within the design being put forward. And is this something that would be reviewed from staff? Would it go to the Environment Committee? Would it go to the Heritage Committee? Who will be overseeing the protection and ensuring that there's proper development around that heritage tree on that property line?
Through you, Madam Chair, we would address the protection of the trees on the property, any vegetation on the property through the site plan process.
Councillor Gilliland?
Thank you. And I guess my final comments is, obviously we're not, in a position to be accusing people based on what their actual design, and people are entitled to design the way they're going to design interiorly. I think what a lot of the council members feel and have heard around the table is a lack of communication with the residents that are there, and felt that, the designs were put forward before actually speaking and communicating with the residents. So it's almost putting the cart before the horse here. And perhaps a lot of this could have been avoided. And, we are going to be extremely, double scrutiny when it comes to the Heritage District area. And it's there for a reason. We want to ensure that, we are setting the tone and the precedents for future development. It's no secret that intensification will end up happening. And now's our chance to really set the tone of how we want that they'll look and moving forward. What this new type of building with triplex, quadruples, or whatever you call it, and ensuring that we are developing responsibly. I agree that we should refer this back to staff and ask for that extension. So if somebody wants to put that on the floor, that's what I would be in favor of doing at this time.
Thank you, Councillor Gilliland. Any other comments or questions? Sorry, Councillor Gartner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm saying this very seriously. In my opinion, if this is denied by council, even though it is recommended by staff and complies with the mandates of a very strict heritage district plan, we would be setting a very bad precedent.
Thank you, Councillor Gartner. Any other comments or questions? Oh, Mayor Marakis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Waters, through you, Madam Chair, Mr. Waters, is there a reason why this is in front of us first before it goes to Committee of Adjustment to deal with the variances?
That's the way it is.
Through you, Madam Chair. Typically, there's really no sort of, process or order regarding these types of approvals. So the applicant at this time decided to proceed with a heritage permit initially, and then move to Committee of Adjustment if relief was required to any of the zoning standards, and then ultimately through a site plan and then to building permit. Again, there's really no sort of strict process required whereby, they should go to the committee first and then seek the heritage permit. That answers your question, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Waters.
Thank you, Mr. Waters. And I already knew that. And I just asked that just so everyone has an understanding that I've always had a problem with this. And we've dealt with this sometimes, I think last term as well, is that this comes to us before it goes to Committee of Adjustment. And while we are not fully understand in regards to the Planning Act and how it works and the fact that we are not tonight approving an actual construction, or we're not approving from a zoning perspective. But at the same time, I do believe this prejudices the Committee of Adjustment. It puts a bias on them, because to me, this states by us approving this, that we approve, as it stated, approve the permit, the construction of a 2-story triplex dwelling. We know that there's going to be variances. We've been told, even though we might not agree with them, we've been told. So when we do this, Committee of Adjustment is going to get this in front of them. They're going to say staff agrees with this. They're going to say council must agree with this. And so we put a bias on it. I'd prefer if this went to Committee of Adjustment first. Now, I know that's not going to happen, but that's why this needs to be right before we make a decision.
Absolutely.
We can't allow it and say, you know what, we're just approving a heritage permit and that's it. Because that's not all we're doing tonight. There will be a bias put on that Committee of Adjustment, and I guarantee you that. And as far as some of the other comments around the table, I got to say, I'm pretty shocked. I'm pretty shocked. Because staff have recommended this, that we should just automatically be approving this for development.
Never done.
I've yet to hear that as a unanimous thing around this table before. And quite frankly, if this was in a stable neighborhood, I think that some people would be speaking differently tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Gallo.
I'm trying to, I guess, play out in my mind what the next steps would be if we were to pause and have the applicant have a discussion with the residents. They've been pretty clear about what they want. And I think the majority of their issue is use, not necessarily the way it looks. Maybe it's a little big. I think the size of it they have an issue with. So I mean, if the applicant is okay with that, I have no issues, and I think the architect said that they're okay with pausing and having a further discussion, which is fine by me. There's no point in rushing this if there is an opportunity to have better communication. That makes absolute sense to me. But I think we've had enough discussion that we have to at least vote this down through you to the clerk. I don't think we can just erase this whole discussion about these two recommendations and move to sending this back.
Thank you, Councillor Gallo. Mr. Clerk, if you could.
Through you, Madam Chair, I agree with Councillor Gallo. It's possible council's done friendly amendments and things like that before, but I would suggest voting it down and then another motion, a subsequent motion being moved after that.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Councillor Gallo, for that. Councillor Gallo, any further comments?
That was it. Thanks.
No, I appreciate that. It's great. Thank you. I don't see any other comments. I'd just like to comment just very quickly. So this in front of us, and we've said it. This is a heritage designated area. So on top of heritage homes around it, it's a heritage designated area, and I think it's really imperative for us to really acknowledge that and work towards ensuring that we keep the integrity of this area as is. I will state that HAC did provide comments off the record because this was not provided forward at our meeting, that they were very disappointed and discouraged that this had not come forward to us, at least in closing the loop, because one of the members actually recommended the support for this owner, and he took him up on it, but the member did not ever hear back. So really, without really understanding what was going on. And then, I think I've heard around the table communication is key. And I think if the owner communicates and they're gracious enough to say they would like it to extend, and we really do it properly and communicate forward, moving forward, I think we're going to all win. When you don't trust, I think in comments, yeah, you're right. There weren't, but that's caused by lack of trust and communication. Once you communicate, you gain your trust, and we are all on at least aligned or on the same page. So moving next steps, I think I would suggest that we vote on this particular motion before us. If it's voted down, I look forward to a further, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Through to the clerk, just so I understand, to me, and it sounded like just from the outset of the conversation that the simple process would have been just to refer the matter back to staff, since the consideration here is for continued dialogue between staff and the applicant and the residents as well. So I'm not clear why we feel the need that we must make a decision on clause 2 and not just simply refer this matter back to staff, given the applicant's agreement to extending the deadline as well as their willingness. No different than any other issue that's been before us where we've had comments and we want to continue to work towards a resolution on something. The usual path is simply just to refer to staff. So again, through you to Mr. Durand, our clerk, can you clarify why you thought we needed to vote on this as opposed to refer to staff?
Thank you. Mr. Clerk.
Through you, Madam Chair, Councilor Thompson, I do agree with you. Upon second thought, I was thinking more of council wanted to defeat this, I guess, iteration of the permit. But I think you've brought up some good points there. I think, and just to make sure it's not an outright refusal of the permit, it might be best to refer the matter back to staff and include that council does consent to an extension for the permit application.
Thank you. And, because this is a planning matter, I'm hesitant to rule on the application itself at this point in time. No different than when we have public planning meetings. Sometimes we'll say, let's just, have another meeting to refer it back. And so I'd rather make a motion to refer.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Mayor? Oh, you're seconding it? Okay, so I think there's a motion on the table that we will refer this back to staff. And upon further thought, the clerk believes it's appropriate for us to do so that the matter just goes back to staff and we're not outright denying the entire motion. All right, so if we're in.
You can speak to the motion.
Mr. Waters?
Yes, Madam Chair.
1 second.
Sorry, is there a question for me? I didn't hear it.
So Mr. Waters, we just want to make sure that what we're going to be doing here is that we're going to refer back to staff with a referral back, that this will come back upon the discussion of this evening. Sorry, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry, guys, for the confusion. Mr. Mayor's would like to speak.
Madam Chair, I was just going to ask if we can just get on the screen, the referral.
Yes, perfect.
And then that way we can all see what it is exactly that we're referring and what we're going to be voting on.
Thank you. If we can get that on the screen, that would be great. That's it. And that we asked for an extension. Okay. Thank you to you. Mr. Waters, can we refer this for another 30-day extension? Is that appropriate? The motion on the floor would 30 days from the 13th? Or do we need more? Maybe 60 days? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. Sorry, Mr. Waters.
Sorry, my apologies. 30 days isn't enough time, especially if we have to go back to hack, which is, I believe, in January of next year. So I would prefer 90 days, but if, you know, we haven't received any clarification from the applicant as to how long he's willing to accept in terms of extending the timeline. So I would need a minimum 60 days.
Okay. Mr. Thompson, sorry, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Through you to Mr. Waters. Mr. Waters, looking at the report, it doesn't say that we have to, as council in this motion, define the time limit at this point in time. Could we not just leave it open-ended and leave it in your hands to be able to work with the applicant, and then when it's ready, come back to us? Can we not just, as the motion was listed, leave out the specific time frame and just have it that they consent to an extension?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Madam Chair. We could do that. I'm not sure the applicant would agree to that. I mean, between now and next week, we can confirm with the applicant the extent, whether he's agreeable to that, which would leave it open-ended, or whether he would prefer to have a hard stop in terms of timing.
That's fine. I mean, again, we can always deal with this at council and put a time limit if necessary after further. I was just willing to delegate authority to you to determine the length of that time frame. But either way, we can deal with it at council.
Great, thank you. So I think if we see the motion again, if that's possible. And maybe we could just put that council consents to a further extension of HPA from December 13th, and then that can be right. Yeah, just get rid of the question marks and the day. Yeah. And then at council, we can probably have an update. So we just delete that. Perfect. Okay, good. I think we're ready to vote. No further comments or questions. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. We'll move right on to item 9.2. May I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor? Councillor Thompson. Mayor Marakis, comments or questions? All right, seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9.3. Disc golf opportunities in Aurora. May I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor for discussion? Councillor Kim. I can't see anyone on the screen. I don't know. Oh, Councillor Gilliland. Any comments or questions on this one? All right, Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you to you, Madam Chair, to Ms. McDougall. Reading the analysis part of the report, it does state in here that identifying the primary target market and building a course that aligns with that market is critical to success. Disc golf courses are vary greatly in size and complexity, and without an understanding of the market, a disc golf course could sit empty year round. I'm just curious as to, staff's recommendation, and as far as, the demand, there was an alternate recommendation here at the back referring to our master sport and recreation plan. And I'm just wondering your thoughts on at least waiting until that moment to see if there is a demand in the community for a new sport, since given that was something that was presented by the actual company that does the sport and not necessarily from residents asking for it.
Ms. McDougall? Oh, you're on mute too, I believe. It doesn't show mute. Yeah, we can hear you. Technology. Yeah, maybe you want to log out. Yeah. We're just waiting for Robin. She's dropped still.
Any luck now?
Perfect. We can hear you. Go ahead. Thanks.
Bizarre. Apologize. And also Aaron Hamilton is here and the author of the report if further question. However, to respond to Madam Chair, thank you. With regards to the sport and the desire and the demand, obviously we are hoping to be able to embark on a updated park recreation master plan in 2022, which certainly could look at the community and demand for things like disc golf and other unique opportunities within the community. So that is why we've presented as an alternative that option, that this decision could be deferred to that point.
Thank you, Councilor Gilland.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I also, I also understand some residents from Highland Gate had been in communication with council today and yesterday, and they do have some concerns. I do see in the resolution, it does say that you would be in discussions with them. So I would like to see that continue. As far as the preferred operating model, at first glance, my first gut instinct was, why would we assume everything in case it does sit empty and it's a market that doesn't really go so well and we end up installing something that just sits there. What is the rationale for staff's recommendation on being municipally operated versus the other options that you presented?
Ms. McDougall? Now you're muted.
Apologies. My apologies. Through you, Madam Chair, certainly Aaron, as the author of the report and did the research on the various models, may be best to respond to that. I don't want to speak on her behalf.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you, Robin, and through you, Madam Chair. In regards to research as to various models that existed, the majority of models across the province were municipally owned and operated. There are some private facilities, but for the most part, when you go in the direction of a private facility, generally they charge a fee. And so if we were looking at opportunities and the recommendation put forward with regards to being municipally owned and operated would allow for us to move in a direction where it would be a playground style, which is generally how municipalities run their disc golf courses, would be a playground style. So it would allow for us to provide access to a recreational activity that would be at no cost for residents to use versus a private facility, which generally, again, they charge a fee and could be a deterrent for residents of the community to access. And so if they're not going to do it for free, the chance of them doing it to pay is probably not going to happen either.
Thank you, Councilor Gilland.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. And I can see how perhaps maybe the fee structure wouldn't work, especially if it's such a new sport and we really don't know if there's that demand. It could be just one of those curiosity things to where somebody might want to try. Just looking at the report before me, I think it's great that, we have an interest in what disc golf is all about. Based on a presentation by a company who runs them. But, also just, from the information and the analysis of the market and the target market and how it can play a really critical role as to whether or not it's going to be used. I think it's something that I think since we are already doing this master plan in 2022, it would make sense to wait until we do a review to see if that's something that is of demand in the community. As we all know, we do lack space for various fields and other things. And maybe through this, we'll discover that, pickleball or cricket or some other kind of sports might be something engaging. And, and also, in consideration with golf, I think one of the things was that what a great sport during COVID that people could play outside that was safe. And I think that was very attractive as well. On the flip side, I could say golf was one of the first few sports in general, just golf in general, that we could play. So I think there's some pros and cons. It's not that I don't like the idea of the disc golf project. I just feel like we've got too much of the cart before the horse in the recommendation by including it in the capital budget already and already deciding on what this funding model would look like when we don't really understand what the demand looks like. So, I would be interested in, at least receiving it and speaking with the Highland Gate community and also waiting until the master plan was completed just to see if there is some interest just based on, some of the information you said. Identifying the primary target market and building a course that aligns with that market is critical to its success. And I think I would agree with that as well. Those are my comments. I'm not so sure what the rest of council members feel, but I'm going to leave it at that for now. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Councillor Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question for Ms. McDougall. Have we reached out to any members of the public to gauge interest?
Ms. McDougall?
Through you, Madam Chair, not at this time, other than through Aaron's research in working with disc golf operators, in general, looking at municipalities and the interest that they've gleaned. This certainly would require additional consultation with the community regarding demand and interest.
Thank you.
Thank you. So in terms of the recommendations, I won't be supporting what's before us, but I would be supporting in terms of the second recommendation, that Highland Gate property be identified as the preferred location for a future 9-hole disc golf course, subject to, and not additional, because we just heard we haven't had any, subject to consultation with the community and Highland Gate Ratepayers Association, period, and nothing else. And we move forward in that regard. And then once that's done, then we can determine whether we even want it there, and then we can put a capital project together and everything else falls out of that. I am not in favor of moving forward what's before us because it's assuming, I think it's assuming that community is okay with it, and we haven't even asked them yet. And we've already had some correspondence from that community saying we haven't even been contacted. Why would you want a capital budget for this if we don't even know what it's about and what the impact would be on our community? So that's my view. I think we can move it forward, but not until we've had significant communication with that community that would be most impacted by this.
Thank you, Councillor Gallo. Councillor Michael Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just with respect to the operating model itself, I guess I'd be a little bit more comfortable understanding the operating model if, I had a better understanding of what the operating costs would be. It certainly says within the report that, the municipality will take on the full responsibility of building, maintaining, and operating the course. And there is reference to the capital costs of building it, but there is no implications with respect to what the ongoing cost would be. It says that it would be added to a future budget. So through you, Madam Chair, to either Ms. McDougall or Ms. Hamilton, do we not have any parameters based on our research of other disc golf courses in Ontario to give us a sense of what the operating costs could be on an annual basis?
Ms. McDougall or Ms. Hamilton?
Through you, Madam Chair. Generally speaking, some of it can be a bit dependent on the final location that's selected. Majority of the cases, generally it's grass cutting is the primary sort of additional piece. So from a parks perspective, and so really from municipality to municipality, that can vary depending on whether it goes from, some have as small as a 6-hole course, some as large as an 18-hole or 27-hole course. The length of each course in terms of how long it takes to cut the grass can vary. So those are all elements, but in terms of what a sort of annual cost or what those items would be, grass cutting is the major one. In terms of sort of overall maintenance, not high maintenance cost to fix. Generally, it's not. It's really the grass cutting to keep that actual course section. So that would be the primary additional cost on an annual basis to operate it. So not high and would be dependent on the length of the course, number of holes, and all those elements.
Thank you. And just as a follow-up through you to Ms. Hamilton, so then we wouldn't be looking at any staff associated time with regards to booking or managing the course itself.
No, so again, majority of models, operating models that happen in municipalities are playground type models where it's come and play. If there's people in front of you, you wait for them to go, you wait in line, signage is up, again, a critical piece to direct people from hole 1 to hole 2. You're cutting the grass, but in terms of checking people in to then go like a golf course, a private golf course would, where they check you in and you have a specific time that you tee off. That's not the standard operating model for a disc golf course. It's intended to operate like a playground would, come and play when it's convenient for you and your family to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you. And, you know, I certainly think it's a worthwhile venture to continue exploring, but I do like Councillor Gallo's suggestion whereby really, you know, we alter the wording in the second recommendation and really just pause there for a moment to make sure that there is support within the Ratepayer Association as well as community to have it there. And then once we know that's there, then have those further conversations around the build and the maintenance and so forth. And so that's it for now.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Adam and Robin, for preparing the report. As I was reading it, you know, it had some, you know, some good information, but I'm just wondering why the report is before us before there was any public engagement or engagement with the Ratepayers Association.
Ms.
I understand
Hamilton,
that, oh, sorry, I just got a couple other sentences. Because by coming to council now, regardless of, you know, if we, you know, approved, you know, one or more of the clauses, it eventually will have to go back out again and more information, fact finding, and they'll come back to council again. It doesn't seem that efficient a process. So, you know, Ms. McDougall, through Madam Chair, if you can just kind of explain what the thought process.
Ms. McDougall.
Thank you, through Madam Chair. Ultimately, it can be a catch-22. If we don't have council's direction that this is a property that council is interested in us pursuing, we wouldn't want to engage with the ratepayers and get the community concerned and riled if they, in fact, it isn't what council's looking to do. We know that the site has been utilized and considered under different park amenities, park considerations in the past. And ultimately, we want council's comfort in us pursuing this even as an option. So it was a catch-22. We understand we definitely have to go back. We need their involvement and input, but we feel council, we wanted council's direction for us to do that before we engaged.
Thank you. Councillor Kim.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ms. McDougall. And no, I have the same thoughts regarding clause 3 and 4, and certainly, you know, including something in the 2023 capital budget doesn't mean that we're approving and it's going to be a go. It's just a bookmark, you know, similar to many other small and large projects that we've proceeded with or not proceeded with. It's merely a bookmark. I'm fine with receiving this report. I'm certainly fine with clause 2. And I'm fine with omitting 3 and 4 for now, because that doesn't, that's not definitive. And we don't have to go forward with that right now. Ms. McDougall, through you, Madam Chair, if we were to approve this for receipt and approve clause 2, when do you think staff will be able to bring this back after speaking with the RPA and the community? A few months?
Ms. McDougall?
Thank you, through Madam Chair. I'm going to suggest with December around the corner, it would probably be a few months, in fairness, to make sure the message gets out to the ratepayers group, giving them a chance to participate in an engagement session, whatever that might look like, virtually or in person. That would have to be considered. So I would suggest 3 months likely before we could be able to bring information back to council, at the earliest likely, due to the December month in the middle.
Thank you. Councillor Kim?
Yeah, thank you. And I'm not in any rush. I just want to know what the timeline was. And just a reminder that disc golf, it's not a permanent fixture. It's something that you can add and remove, if even after public engagement, and everyone wants to try it, and if the demand is not there, it's certainly not permanent. So it's one of those sports that's cost effective to try, and if it doesn't work, you can certainly remove it, and no one's worse for wear. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Kim. And Councillor Gartner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I'd like to thank Aaron Hamilton. I didn't thank you for your last comprehensive report, so I want to make sure I thank you for this, and that by way of this. The Highland Gate Ratepayers Association was very upset with this, and I think we all know because we got the email. I would just like to take this whole, the Highland Gate Ratepayers property be identified. I'd like just to take that off the table and just replace it with consultation. I think, from what I know of Aurora, we don't have many land areas that would accommodate disc golf, especially 9-hole. And I think that probably the Highland Gate property is the only place we could put it. And I think the Highland Gate residents have been through so much with the redevelopment of the property, and it's really it really would be respectful to discuss this with them first before we do anything further. So I would just like to receive and discuss the possibility with the Highland Gate Ratepayers Association, because if they're not in agreement, then no matter what we do after that, we need to find a place to have it. And I don't know if that's viable.
Thank you, Councillor Gartner. Any other comments or questions? All right. Oh, Councillor Gallo.
I'd like to make an amendment if I could and see if it flies. So we'll leave number 1 as is. Number 2, that Highland Gate property be identified as a potential location for a future 9-hole disc golf course, subject to consultation with the community and Highland Gate Ratepayers Association, period.
Second.
Second, Councillor Gartner. All right, perfect. Can we have that on the floor? Perfect. Thanks. Okay. All right. Any comments or questions on the amendment? Yeah, it's an amendment because they're removing 2 clauses, right? Is that an amendment? We'll just wait till it gets put up on the screen just to make sure it's okay. Okay, perfect. That's the same. That's the same one, right? Okay, there we go.
Could you make it larger?
Okay. Speaking to the amendment only, Councillor Gilliland.
It's just really a question. Are we just amending that one line and we're going to be voting on, okay, so it's just that one line that we're voting on. Okay, that's fine. We get it. Never mind.
And from what I understand, we're going to receive it. We're going to have vote on this, and clause 3 and 4 are out. No, they're in.
My amendment is to remove them.
Councillor Gallo's motion was to remove items 3 and 4, right? No.
Yes.
Madam Chair, is it possible to make this larger?
Yeah, please.
Councillor Gilliland, do you have further?
Thank you.
That is my amendment, Madam Chair.
Councillor.
Receive and to, first one to receive and to what's on the screen.
Perfect. So the amendment would have the number 1 was, to receive the report, and number 2 would be this, right? Just to make sure. So we're talking about the amendment right now, which is. So Councillor Gallo, you're good with what's on the screen?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So I think Councillor Gilliland just wanted to confirm that that's what we were voting on, and this is it. Okay, 3 and 4 are staying, and we could probably just vote them down. We'll vote on them separately. And we'll put an amendment after this. Okay, perfect. So speaking to the amendment only for item 1, any comments or questions? Councillor Gilliland, are you okay with this first amendment? Good. And then Mayor Marakis.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm fine with the amendment. I'm just procedurally, I just think it would be just cleaner if we asked the mover and the seconder if they would be open to the wording changes in this clause and to eliminating clause 3 and 4. And
yes.
I am speaking to the amendment. No, but I'm speaking to the amendment, Councillor. So I just think procedurally that would just be cleaner. We don't have to vote on this and then go back and make another amendment to vote on another amendment to eliminate those 2 other clauses. If the mover and the seconder are open to it, then we can just go about it. I said, I think we're all in favor of this. If the mover and seconder are in favor of making those changes, then it just becomes procedurally becomes a friendly amendment.
No, that's fair, Mr. Mayor, because I believe that's what Councillor Gallo was hoping for.
I agree, but procedurally, we would have to vote on this and then go back and remove 2 more clauses. So that's all I'm saying.
Mr.
Councillor Gallo, I agree with your amendment.
Okay
I just procedurally, just to make it easier for all of us.
Overriding me. You go.
Through you, Madam Chair. What the mayor is suggesting is I guess the more efficient way in terms of if all of council is on the same page that they want what Councillor Gallo has suggested for clause 2 and to remove clause 3 and 4, and the mover and the seconder are okay. Certainly, we could put that up on the screen and momentarily.
All right.
I would suggest Councillor Gallo should weigh in and make sure that's it.
Absolutely. Councillor Gallo, it's your motion. Are you okay?
That's the ultimate goal. If it can be more efficient, so be it. Yeah.
Perfect. So, and the seconder, Councillor Gardner, I believe you're okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. It's going to be on the screen in a minute.
Okay.
Let's make it faster. Is this okay?
It will be.
Good enough?
Yeah, just 1 second here.
Okay, we'll put the receive and then.
Receive and then 1 and then there we go.
There we go. All right, perfect. Ta-da. Everyone, please, and clear what's before us now. We're good. All right, good. Good. Okay, all in favor of the motion before us, amendment? No, sorry. The main motion as amended. No. Made as a friendly amendment. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Phew, that was the hardest. All right, we're going to go for a little break. We'll be back at 9:20. 10 minutes. No questions. All right, thank you so much. We're back. On to item number 9.4, amendment to Heritage Designation Bylaw 6182-19, De La Salle College and Pine Ridge Trail, Monks Walk, 50 to 100, Bloomington Road West. May I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor for discussion? Councillor Gilliland, Councillor Kim, any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Item 9.5, Heritage Permit Application for Young Street Knowles Redmond House. May I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor? Mayor Marakis, Councillor Thompson, any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Item 9.6, Town Initiated Zoning Amendment to the Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 6000-17. May I have a mover and a seconder for this item? Councillor Gartner, Councillor Gilliland, any comments or questions on this item? Councillor Gartner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I very much appreciate this report. I think it will really help our older neighborhoods. And I thank you, Mr. Waters. That's it.
Thank you so much, Councillor Gartner. Any other Councillor Gilliland?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To staff, I just had a couple questions for clarity. I'm just trying to get to the page. There was something in respect to the fencing. That's what we're on, correct?
Yes.
Okay. My only concern was, and if you can just clarify, is some of the newer properties have really, really small backyards. And so they may decide that they want to have, their entire backyard a deck with the exception of maybe some room for trees at the back. And if they have a very shallow backyard, which we've seen with some of these rather large homes and developments, is that going to hinder the ability to have a decent sized decks with the setbacks that's being presented today?
Thank you, Mr. Waters.
To you, Madam Chair. So what we have before us is a draft bylaw that deals with the general provisions. In cases that you're describing, Councillor, they have site-specific zoning that does recognize that those rear yards are probably below what we typically would have in our parent zone. So this really affects just the general provisions. Those site-specific zones are tailored or customized for those rear lots. So this would not affect them.
Thank you, Councillor Gilliland.
Okay, perfect, because that was kind of my main concern. And just for clarification, the only thing that's being revised on the encroachment part is the porch, open porches, uncovered terraces and decks. That is the only revision that we're looking at today within the proposed encroachments and versus the what's actually being permitted. This is a second question, not related to the first.
Mr. Waters.
Through you, Madam Chair. So yes, so you're correct. So this is a very sort of a targeted amendment that deals with the projection of decks in a rear yard. And what we're finding is these second floor decks are extending into the rear yard, which creates privacy issues. So we're trying to control that through this amendment.
Perfect. Sorry, Madam Chair. Perfect. That's really, I just wanted that clarification just for understanding purposes. That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Gilliland. Any other comments or questions? I just wanted to personally thank you, Mr. Waters, as well. This is one that I think we all dealt with, and I want to thank the CAO as well and the mayor, because we had quite an issue here, and it surprised, I think, all of us, but I'm really happy with this. As stated, this zoning change, I think, is going to protect many of our even newer neighborhoods as well as our older ones. So thank you so much for this. Let's move forward with the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you so much. All right, I think at this point, we do have motions, but we don't discuss them. Oh, we've got the regional report. My apologies, guys. May I have a motion? Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, guys. We do have a motion for discussion at our next meeting. Councillor Gilliland's motion on property standards, by modernization and review. And then may I have a motion to receive the regional report? Mayor Marakis, Councillor Thompson, any comments or questions? Councillor Gartner. Oh, yes, Councillor Gartner. Oh, you're on mute, Councillor Gartner.
Sorry, thank you. I was really glad to see that there's going to be a feasibility study for vacant home tax, and that any money that was made on this would go towards affordable housing initiatives. And there's just an estimate that if a 1 to 2% tax was levied, it could generate between 15 and 90 million in gross revenues the first year. I really hope that the study recommends that we have that. And also I noticed that there may be a rapid housing initiative for Aurora that the region has applied for 5 projects, and one could be in Aurora. So all of the applications haven't been successful to date. So Mr. Mayor, is there anything that you could add to that?
Mr. Mayor.
Well, actually, I'm sorry, that's kind of an unfair question because, apologies, because it says that we'll probably know by the end of the year. So I guess it's not very long away. We'll just wait and see what happens. The rapid housing initiatives, from what I understand, are almost like prefabricated housing units that can be put up very quickly. I don't know where we would put them, but I think it's a terrific idea. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Gartner. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned I received a message from Councillor Gallo. He had to leave the meeting for a personal issue. So I just wanted to inform Council. Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you, to you, Madam Chair, to staff. I sent an email to Ms. McHale, but maybe Mr. Waters, you can answer. I noticed that the region had, I guess, gave some partnership program money for pedestrian and cycling partnership programs, and there was quite a few municipalities that were able to partake in some of that. And I recall when we had received our new master transportation plan and such, that one of the comments that I had made is I was kind of disappointed that Wellington did not have a cycling path all the way from Wellington, Yonge Street, all the way to Bathurst, and just wondered if there was any opportunities for Aurora. I don't know, maybe Mr. Mayor, you could speak to it as well. Any opportunities for Aurora to at least partake in maybe some of the program that they have here, because I really think that we do lack that connectivity. And because it's a regional road, I've been kind of told it's in the hands of the region. Could you just touch on that?
Mr. Mayor, are you okay to comment?
Sure. Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. As far as from a Wellington perspective, there's always difficulty when you get through from the train tracks and moving towards Yonge, just because of how narrow it is to add in any additional type of lanes, whether it's bike lanes or not. And I think the feasibility of it is a continuous struggle for staff to look at how they can, especially at the region, how they can implement that through that area. They understand that it's something that we would absolutely encourage and like to see. But I think that it comes to, are they able to do it at this time? And so if they're going to continue to look at that and monitor it and see if we're able to configure it into the works. I mean, they are looking as well at the Yonge and Wellington intersection. And I think that when they finally make some changes to that intersection, you might see some changes as well through the corridor, as far as some more pedestrian friendly access and some more bike lanes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you very much. And I know that you're advocating for cycling as well. And, I just want to kind of bring the attention that the region is putting these supports through. And I certainly want to continue to encourage staff to engage with the region because we do have some opportunity, at least from Yonge Street to the Bathurst Way. And, we need that divide from east-west. And I've heard from many cyclists who want to see that increased. And I know in our community, that's a very important aspect to our strategic plan. Moving along and in conjunction with the transportation master plan, also just to let the public know, because I know there's a lot of concerns with traffic and cycling and pedestrian and such. And I'm assuming this is still active. Perhaps sometimes we get these updates and it's already been said and done, but they are asking for feedback at york.ca/TMP, I guess, for transportation master plan. Mr. Mayor, is this something that's still active now, or is this just kind of reporting that they were seeking this feedback, or can the residents still continue to give feedback based on the roads and cycling and facilities and such?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, could you comment? I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. The region always welcomes more feedback.
Thank you. Councillor Gilliland.
I just didn't know if that consultation survey was still open. So I guess if it's you go to york.ca/TMP, the information is probably there, but I thought it was important to highlight that.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments on the regional report? Mayor Maracus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just wanted to touch on, Councillor Gardner brought up the vacant property, vacant homes tax. And if those that were sitting around the table last term will remember that we went to look at implementing that right away as soon as it came through. Obviously, we do need the upper tier to approve it before we could actually do it. That we could still both do it, but I think that as of now, this is something that we need to move forward with. I know that right across the board at the regional council is very supportive of this and moving forward in this direction. And I think it's one piece of a puzzle to make sure that the supply that is available out there that's not being utilized becomes available to those that are seeking to either rent a home or buy a home. And so it is an area that's problematic right now. And this is one piece that will help us get to that point where we can solve. So I'm looking forward to the region actually implementing this hopefully soon. And Councillor Gardner, just to your point, while it does speak to 15 million to around 90 million in gross revenues, agree it's a big number, and the fact that it was important that we stipulate that money would go back into looking at how we can provide affordable housing. That was a big component of how we move forward in this vacant tax. But ultimately, we shouldn't even be making any money because there should be no vacant properties.
That's right.
So the idea is eventually we'll end up in a spot where that money would decrease time after time after time. And we get to a point where we're not really making any revenue off of it because there are no vacant properties. That's ultimately that would be the best scenario. But in the meantime, I agree with you. Let's utilize the money and put it towards affordable housing.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Councillor Gardner was saying something, but you're on mute. That's okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions on the regional report? All right. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. All right. We're on to new business. May I start to my left? Councillor Thompson, anything new business? Mayor Maracus, new business. Councillor Kim. Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you, Madam Chair, to staff. Just curious, do we issue awards for green stewardship to businesses or people in the community that present green stewardship, environmentally friendly of some sort? Do we know if we do something like that?
Mr. Nazrowski, could you help us with that one?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm not aware of any awards we give out, no.
Okay. I'm just curious if maybe that was something to recognize. I know that we're kind of trying to build and grow our community with forward thinking in the green initiative, and maybe perhaps that's something that we could look into and adding that initiative and giving that green stewardship towards whether it's a business or a developer of sorts that utilizes forward thinking and environmentally.
Thank you. Actually, do we have anything like that in the community recognition awards? So maybe we can add to that because that's a very good suggestion. Mayor Maracus,
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have a green award.
on yeah, so we can add to it. Good. Any other question? Any new business further? Councillor Gartner, new business?
Thank you. We are in Transgender Awareness Week, and it leads up to a Transgender Day of Remembrance on the 20th for people who have died just because they're different. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gartner. All right, and now we are going to move forward back to public service announcements. So we'll start with Councillor Gartner. Any public service announcement? That was somewhat of one. Do you have any other?
Yes, thank you. I do get those mixed up. No, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gilliland, any public service announcements?
No, thank you.
Councillor Kim? Mayor Maracus?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Everyone's favorite Aurora's overnight winter parking restrictions began yesterday and is in effect until November 15th. Or until November, no. That's right, until April 15th. During this time, please do not park on the road between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. For more information, please visit aurora.ca/winter parking. In the spirit of the holiday season, if you've received a parking ticket in Aurora from now until December 13th, your fine can be paid by donating new unwrapped children's toys or gift cards. It's an excellent program. I think, Mr. how many years have we been doing this? I think. So what, 5? Yeah, I think it's around 5 years, but it's a great program. It helps out. Okay. All right. I got a few more. 1 sec. Sorry. Join us on November 27th for Aurora Santa Under the Stars Parade. This nighttime parade is full of magic with beautiful decorated floats, incredible marching bands, and a few special guests, including the Jolly Man in red himself. For more details, visit aurora.ca/Santa Parade. The town's menorah lighting ceremony takes place on December 1st. All are welcome to join in the festivities, which include the lighting of the menorah, traditional celebratory foods, and some fire juggling entertainment. Aurora's Accessibility Advisory Committee is seeking public input for our residents, employees, visitors, and local businesses on how we can improve accessibility in Aurora. For more information, please visit engageaurora.ca/accessible-aurora. And the town of Aurora will be switching to award system in 2022. When residents vote in the 2022 municipal election, they will be voting for a mayor and 1 ward councillor who represent their ward. To find out which ward you live in and for more information about wards, visit aurora.ca/wards. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Awesome. Thank you. And Councillor Thompson, any personal? I have one, and it's hot off the press. Mr. Murray mentioned our Santa Under the Stars parade that can't wait to have it again. So there's something pretty exciting. It's called Stuff the Bus Toy Drive. So Matrils Alley is going to be partying all day from 11 a.m. till 9 p.m. along with Aurora Santa Claus Parade Stars. And what they'll be doing is there'll be music going on all day, and you could donate toys there, just like we do here. And they're going to have I believe it's a York Region bus, come upon the front of Matrils Alley, and we will be stuffing the bus for toys. And maybe we can do a toy drive, combine ours here with that as well. So that's gonna be fun. They're gonna have live entertainment, the flailing shillelaghs, hot chocolate, Christmas tree lights, and everything else. So lots of exciting times ahead. So happy the Santa Claus Parade is back on. I think that's it. There's no closed session this evening, and may I have a motion to adjourn. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Gartner, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.